What's up, everybody? It's your lovely host, Simone, again. And this is, I was thinking, yay, I'm breaking the wall again.
Right.
This is back-to-back recording. Yay. But we're going to push through. We're going to get through it.
Yes.
And here with me is still the lovely Shay.
I'm back.
Yes.
Can't get rid of me.
Actually never left.
Right, never left.
But yes, we're actually bringing the album review to the BTS Arirang Extravaganza.
Woo!
So let's actually go ahead and deep dive into this album. We'll highlight all the producers and writers credited on it. Talk about, if we had any problems with any of the songs, lyrics that we liked. Again, I have Shay here because she's familiar with some names that I might not be familiar with. So talk about them and maybe their music journey and how they tie in to working with BTS. And yeah, what works for us, what doesn't work for us. Are you excited, Shay?
I'm so excited, but more excited to get this over with. No, I'm excited. No. This is one of my favorite things, obviously, when it comes to any album, is just deep diving. The first thing, when we got the credit, the song credits, first thing we did, I think, in the Discord server, for those of you who didn't listen to part one, go back and listen to that. We kind of did a little bit of deep dive on, what these artists are, these, writers and producers are, and what many of us thought were going to bring to the table based on their trajectory in music. So it's one of my favorite parts. I always check the credits because, songwriters are important. They're very much a necessity and part of the lifeblood of what makes music. And same with producers. And, not to yap too long, but I mean, this album has been, I think, one of the, I won't say it's the most controversial, but at least in my Army lifetime, it has been one of the most polarizing albums or projects that they put out, probably outside of JK's solo project, because JK's solo project was also fully English and very heavily influenced by Western producers and Western writers. And it's funny, the similarities I think that we're seeing with that conversation, but we'll get into that. I'm not going to jump ahead. So
yeah. So before we talk about each song, I do want to highlight the achievements that this album has made. Because, we still have to bring light to that. So the lead single that they went with, Swim, on the first week of charting, actually went #1 on the Billboard Hot 100s in the US. So congrats to BTS. It's been some time since that. So I think the last time, as we're recording this, that I saw, it did get bumped down, but to #2. So it's actually still in the top 10 for the Hot 100s. So that's great. This album also made BTS the first group in history to debut a song and album at #1 on the Hot 100s and Billboard 200s. And the first time that they achieved that was with the album B that we got during the pandemic and the title track with that, Life Goes On.
Yeah.
So the whole album itself actually debuted on the Billboard Hot 100. I have the songs and where they placed on the whole Hot 100 chart. So, of course, like I stated, Swim was #1. Number 25 was Body to Body. 35 was Hooligan. 36 was Fire. 41 was Normal. 47, Alien. 50, 2.0. 52, Merry-Go-Round. 53, Like Animals. 56, They Don't Know About Us. 61, One More Night. 63, Please. And 68, Into the Sun. Apparently, number 29 was not eligible for the Hot 100s.
We know it placed.
It should have, but I guess they didn't count it for some odd reason. I don't remember what the reasoning was. And again, since it's been some time, I don't know if any of these have gone up, down, or knocked off the chart completely. But BTS has also become the first artist in history, not just K-pop group, not Asian group or Asian act, but first artist in history to occupy the entire top 10 on the Billboard Global, excluding US charts. So in order, it was Swim, Body to Body, Hooligan, Fire, Normal, Aliens, Like Animals, 2.0, Merry-Go-Round, and They Don't Know About Us. So congrats to them. And also when we first tried to record this on April 5th, Arirang by BTS had actually surpassed 1 billion streams on Spotify. So it became the fastest album by any group or Asian act in history to achieve this milestone. I also believe that Arirang stayed at number one on the Billboard 200 for 2 weeks. So it's been number one 2 weeks in a row because I do know they blocked Kanye. And I think I heard they may be going for a third week. So they may actually, we'll know by the time this recording comes out, but they may actually be in the Billboard 200 for at least 3 consecutive weeks, which would be the longest in their history as well.
Nope.
Yes, it is. So to talk about the album itself, I'm also going to add in like notes that I took from the studio notes live that they did, just to let you know. I'll be referencing that a lot. And like to begin with, I also want to point out it's very interesting where like Yoongi, I guess, really emphasized how even though you see many names in the production, BTS themselves and all 7 members were really the ones that like took lead and part in the process in some way. So just to keep that in mind. But we're going to go ahead and start with the very first song that is on the album, titled Body to Body. If you also watch the documentary, this song was talked about a lot because this is the one where they use the actual Arirang sample. So the producers on this track are credited. Oh, I should also do my disclaimer real quick. I am so sorry if I mispronounce any of these names. I'm trying my best. I usually need to hear them phonetically to make sure I'm pronouncing them right. So yeah, just wanted to just put that out there. If I mispronounce, if any of them, for some odd reason, decide to listen to this podcast, I am so sorry for mispronouncing your name if I did mispronounce your name. Well, let's start with the producer credits. So we have the Pickard brothers, Diplo, Ryan Tedder, and P-Dog, with the lyrics credited by Ryan Tedder, Maximum Pickard, Thomas Wesley Pence, Akira Evans, Tezo Touchdown, P-Dog, RM, Suga, J-Hope, and Kirsten Alyssa Spencer. Now, I did want to point out real quick that it was interesting as well, because if you watch the documentary, Namjoon and Yoongi, throughout the samples they were using, wasn't really feeling it in this song. They had a lot to say about it. And in the studio notes, Yoongi actually says something along the lines of like kind of being against using the sample at first because he's already used so many Korean traditional music and his own solo work before. And then he brought up Haegum and Daechichwa, just to name the two. So I do think like the decision to use the sample was more in the perspective of like the enjoyment from international fans than their Korean fans, because they also talked about the concerns on that. And like if Koreans maybe thought they turned like too patriotic, especially after coming directly from the military, and like trying to placate other things like that.
Right.
And with this song that was mentioned in the studio notes, as well as I'm going to be referencing a ARMY who's known on Twitter as Dulcet. They have their own website who I do have the link to their blog. Please check it out, where they work tirelessly to translate BTS's albums and not only translate the lyrics, but give like a more in-depth description of like certain Korean context. But both of them, Yoongi and this person, talked about how they mentioned the song Hand in Hand, which was the official theme song of the 1988 Summer Olympics in Seoul. And that was kind of like their inspiration for the song Body to Body. And then on Dulcet's blog, on a breakdown of the lyrics, they mentioned the lyrics of Hand in Hand are built on the central themes of unity, harmony, hope, and then dismantling of barriers, which I feel like you can kind of get that hint when you look at the lyrics. When I know some people interpret it different ways of like, I want your body beside me and things like that. Or like one lyric I'm looking at, it's translated from Korean, so we can reach the moon over there hand in hand. So
names of familiar. It's just not to correct, but Tezo Touchdown is an artist / songwriter. I'm assuming from what I saw on the further breakdown on Wikipedia, he added vocals. So I'm sure he does. So on Wikipedia, which I don't knock Wikipedia, I just hate the Wikipedia warriors. It actually tells you all the things that they contribute, these people contribute to. So one of the things that he did, from what I understand from what it says, is that he attributes some of the vocals, which probably was like background vocals, ad libs, things like that. Maybe just some certain sounds.
Yeah.
Don't exactly. I mean, obviously, I wasn't in the studio, but he's an artist. He has put out I want to say like three like studio projects. Very eclectic young man, a very eccentric personality. Kind of has that Lil Uzi Vert, but I feel like that he kind of birthed some of that, influence or whatever with just he has a very unique style, unique sound. I don't necessarily hear him like in this just based on his music. But I can see why, just based on his type of style, why they would have reached out to him for any input or whatever. And of course, you have like Diplo, very notable name. Wasn't too familiar with the Picard brothers when we first got it. Looked them up. I think they are a French duo. I remember that correctly. Could be
The
wrong.
name like Maximum, that would make sense. And I don't think I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah, I could be wrong on where they're from, but they are definitely a DJ set, I believe, focusing, I think, primarily on like EDM and stuff like that. So I think and then Ryan Tedder, of course, I think from One Republic, and it has worked side by side with like the likes of Timbaland. So I found these things kind of interesting, just the choices that were made and the people who were involved. I think the choice, and again, tying it into the documentary and kind of the apprehension to utilize such like on the nose sampling. Like I think there's also maybe a little bit of trauma with Jungian sampling with certain things that happened with certain songs and certain samples.
I didn't even think about that until you mentioned it.
Yeah. But again, I think there's, again, going into the conversation of like, there is valid criticism and valid, and even from themselves, like these concerns they had were valid to them. Maybe a few, because I was much like J-Hope in the dog. I was feeling it as soon as like, that's my favorite part.
I said that too.
Like the song is good, but my favorite part is when you start hearing the women in the background and it's slowly building. And then we're still, but it's combined with the vocal stylings of JK and Jimin and Jen and all of them and Tay. And we're hearing them like blend it in a way of like, again, bringing the old into the new, combining those things, which again, hand in hand, almost kind of like poetic in a way. And then to give them their own space to let that breathe, and including all of this just heavy hitting instrumentation. Again, if you haven't listened to this in more than one way, if you haven't listened to this in the car, which by now I'm sure everybody has listened to this a myriad of ways, but if you have not done yourself the service to listen to this like on a proper system, man, find you find you the nearest a karaoke spot and just have them play it, rent it out for an hour and just go listen to this album. That's what I promise is what we're planning on doing. Mostly the reason part of it is just to hear this in a proper speaker system. And obviously, I am under the assumption, even though I do not want spoilers for the other songs, I know that this album is going to be primarily part of the set list. So it's not lost on me that this song will obviously be featured on the set list. It'll be very interesting to see us over here, and I'm sure it's been very interesting to see the Korean concert sing that part along. It probably feels like a very special moment, and I'm glad that with the documentary there was a lot of backlash, obviously, with them quote unquote strongly suggesting to BTS that they use the longer sample, and I hate to be the person that'd be like, well, they were right. Bong PD was correct. I think the longer sample was the correct choice. When you listen to them side by side, because we were able to, in the documentary, be able to listen to the shorter version, how it would have played out in verses. I can't imagine not being able to feel the emotions I feel as a non-Korean, hearing Arirang being sung in the background in this building, like in this constant like almost kind of sounds like a victory lap in a way, which is very motivational and very inspiring and very creative as well. I mean, I think part of the whole reason why a lot of people, not to be like negative, were kind of like pushed behind or like pushed off by all this, and we're craving more quote unquote authentic sound and authentic references to something that's more Korean. Like, I do think that a lot of the fans and a lot of people who were anticipating this album to be quote unquote more Korean were looking at wanting more of this blending of like the older sound, the older generation songs and instrumentation and references into this new era. But I mean, I be honest, I don't think that an album that is just that would probably get old fast to have a constant like every song has some kind of like reference to something. You know what I mean? Like I think that's a strong opening. I remember, if I remembered this correctly, back when the album came out, it like Body to Body was in the lead. The Swim being the lead single, but Body to Body was is a fan favorite. I would argue that's probably one of the top 3 of like everybody's favorites. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that that song swells in the end and feels very patriotic. I'm sure. I don't know that for a fact because I'm not Korean, but I do. It's kind of like similar to, I don't know if you ever feel this as well. When you see Simone men do, is it Hoka?
I was going to bring that up because my first experience with the Haka, I actually got a chance when I was younger to go to New Zealand. I actually knew nothing about New Zealand at that point, but it was part of a package, like traveling thing that someone we knew at the time did. So I was fortunate enough to go there. And I just remember the feeling I had like watching them do that. I just feel like it was so powerful. And like you were saying, like, even though I'm not like a part of that culture at all, like you can just feel it. Like you can feel the ties of the ancestry, like the respect there, which you can feel as well. Like when you're listening to Body Body. I know too, like when we talked about in the other part of like the Korean diaspora, there's been so many when this album first came out and when they were listening to this song, like Koreans of the diaspora, whether they're the younger generation or like they were showing their parents or grandparents, and you would just see them cry because they just reminded them of Korea, like if they were the older ones who used to live there and like miss their homeland, or like the ones that never got to really like grow up in Korea, like feel connected to the homeland with that. So I do feel like that was very needed, despite like the worries of the criticism of Koreans in Korea themselves. But like, I see your point as well. And I feel that way too, because it's like, we get it. Like it comes to a point, it's like, okay, we understand like you're Korean. This is your roots. This is your culture. But like, what else? I don't know if this is like a Western way of my thinking, but it's like, I want to also know you as an individual. Like, I don't care that you're Korean. I'm happy you're proud of where you are and want to showcase that, but that's not who you are. Like, that's not all you are. And it's like, I feel like, yeah, there comes to a point, it's like, okay, like we get it, but who else are you as a person? Like your whole identity doesn't revolve around you being Korean, which I think was another reason I was so upset about the controversy of like, is this Korean enough? Because, you know, we're all individual people. So you have your own personality outside of your race and ethnicity. Yeah,
overall, I think when I was cycling through my way of listening to the album, I found myself like, you know, like doubling back. I would get almost to the end and I'd have to come back and start it all. Just something about the chords being used, the particular things that are like that stand out as far as, again, the instrumentation, especially when it goes into that part where it's homage to like the traditional song. And I feel like it's very relatable to a lot of, if you like music, if you're somebody who like grew up with like just different music, but just like for just using Black people, you know, in this example, a lot of, not all of us, but a lot of us were raised around kind of our grandparents, and our grandparents listened to a lot of like older, you know, music like Marvin Gaye, Al Green, and, you know, the list goes on, Lenny Williams, just on and on. And then when you hear someone in the new generation make a sample, like I think of Coco Jones, when she did, what's that song called? Here We Go. It samples Lenny Williams, 'Cause I Love You, which can be intimidating that's like one of the quote unquote greatest love songs of that generation. And it can be intimidating. And so I get the apprehension of like using something that's so sacred, I guess, to your culture and to your people. And again, feeling like you're using this to sell a product. I can see why there was apprehension there. But I was also very much in my Hobie bag and jamming. I was not concerned about, I felt Hobie so much like when he was just like, I'm fucking with this. And they were looking at him like, we ain't fucking with this. And he's looking around like, y'all ain't fucking with this? Like, no, we not fucking with this. And and I think that's also, just to tie that in, that's such a real moment. Like, it's such a, like, it just goes to show that they don't agree on everything all the time. Like, I think people have this misconception of like, they get in the studio and I don't think everybody feels this way, but I think there is a part of our fandom that believes that everything BTS puts out, it's an automatic yes. Like, and even the things that do get put out, there was a struggle there. There wasn't conflict there. I think art itself, whether it's music, the written word, visual art, whatever is under the category of art, there has to be a little bit of struggle for an art to be good or considered good. There has to be like a backstory there. I think of like Namjoon a lot when he goes and sits in a fucking museum every day, all day, and just reading and learning and just hearing the stories of different, artists and sculptors and painters and the things that they go through and why they were inspired. And all that is part of the artistic expression. So even if we're seeing like a bit of, push and pull and, they're obviously like having some differences of opinions. And again, these concerns, which are valid, are coming up. I think if they just went in with the mindset, like, we're just going to put out whatever. I mean, spoiler, I guess, maybe, and not really. I think it's been now said in many interviews, this album, the project, had over like 100 songs, potential songs. And they narrowed that down to 14. And of those 100 songs, I guarantee you that whole situation that we saw with Body to Body probably happened on I don't think there was a song that they all collectively agreed on without a little bit of pushback.
No, and we'll talk about that too with this as well, because even the songs they did pick, they were like, nope, I don't want that. And they were very vocal about that, which I'm sure they were afraid to do, because like you said, I'm sure there's some subgroup of armies out there that are just like, they agree with everything. There's no conflict even among the members themselves of like any type of disagreements, which is not.
Because they also have different things that they enjoy listening to. We saw that through the solo projects, just with their choices. Right. And so part of it isn't just about what the group thinks about a song. It's more or less of what they individually think. And if they're like, oh, that's like, I can see, we didn't see this, but I can envision like JK is very much the type of personality that is kind of up to date with trends. And it tries to be anyway. I know we just talked about how he's late to everything, but like, he's also, I think, one of the ones that's on between him and J-Hope are very like social media aware. And so like, especially with like them both being on TikTok, and I know Tay is also on TikTok now, but Tay is Tay. So like, he's kind of, he treats TikTok like he treats his lives. He's on there when he is, and he's not when he's not. But I think both of them are very conscious about what's popular. And at the end of the day, you want to have a balance between something that people enjoy, but also something that's authentic. And it's hard to find that balance because, one of my favorite artists, Black, which is spelled with a 6 for the B, he talks about this in one of his songs on his debut project, where essentially he's alluding to the fact that he was kind of suggested to go a direction, but he chose his authenticity, because if he ended up going the direction that people wanted him to go, he would be pigeonholed in that, and he would have to continue to chase that popularity like high to stay relevant. And that's not how you build a solid fan base. And I would say that is probably one of the best, like, not pieces of advice, but just one of the best like artist conversations I've ever heard. Like, yeah, you don't really want, that's why we're going to get back on track, but this is how it is when we talk about music. I think when it comes to these popcorn artists, these people that come and you see them and they come with a viral hit and then they're gone, like, these are people that are obviously here to get a bag. No shame in that. But you find you have artists that have been in the game for decades and still relevant. Beyonce being one of them, one of my favorite artists of all time. But we're even seeing like modern artists right now. Like, I think Tyler is going to be a household name in a few years, especially because Rihanna's not ever going to give us another album. Anyway, I'm not salty. I promise this is about BTS. I'm sorry. But this is what I'm saying. This is why I think when we talk about BTS, it is outside of K-pop because they're in a different peer group than K-pop itself. And that's not shade because I also am an enjoyer of K-pop, but BTS exists on a plane because of where they're at, that they are kind of in a unique position with them being, like you said earlier, or in the first part, aged out, or perceived to be aged out of what's typically, allowed in K-pop, but also just the style of music they do. Again, the reach that they have, all of that plays a part. And so they are put in a different bracket. And when I talk about BTS, I actually compare them a lot to artists that are also in those same brackets. So you'll hear, just disclaimer, throughout this entire second half of the podcast, I will be talking about other artists.
I feel like it ties into like the musical talk, so that's completely fine.
But yeah, I don't have any notes as far as like my enjoyment. I mean, this was probably when I sat down and ranked them, and rank is very loosely used. I can't really rank this album, but this is definitely in my top 3 favorites off the album. So love this song. I think the choices that were made were the right ones. That's probably everybody I get to say as far as that. Now, if we want to, I don't know if this was one of the ones you had any lyrics in that you wanted to dive into.
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna point out, again, I guess for me, because I've already watched the concerts, like I know the set list, but I'm not saying anything. But you can tell this was meant to be like not only a way to just like open up the album, but it's a party song. Like it's a way to like get people hype. It's a way to like get people excited. Even within the lyrics, like I'm looking now, like the first thing that Namjoon says after like the whole introduction with like J-Hope repeating "I need," and he like, "What you need, twin." Okay. Anyway, sorry. When we get to that, his first word is, "I need the whole stadium to jump." So, and then put your phone down. Let's all get all the fun. And that's another thing too, I guess, if we want to talk about music in general. Because, we're also addicted to our phones and we're also addicted to recording everything. That includes concerts. So like you can really tell if they're put your phone down in a song, they don't want you to be on your phone. They want you to live in the moment, to enjoy. And this is definitely one of the songs where I think it will showcase that, to just vibe out together, party together.
And I feel bad for those of you who have front row because he already said he's watching y'all in the song. Like he literally says,
I got my eyes on the row in the front.
And I would not want to be under the eye of Namjoon for any reason at all.
I don't want to be under the eyes of any of them.
No, not really. I mean, truthfully, I don't have that sentiment as far as like, I genuinely think in my right mind, which is most of the time, I think that I could sit down and like have like a general conversation. I don't have this like delusion of like, I'm going to pass out to seeing them. I don't have like that starstruckness about myself. But I think there's something, like you said, about putting a spotlight on the culture that is now with like concert culture. I don't record shit. If you've ever been to a concert with me, don't ask me for no video. People be like, make sure I don't take no picture. But anytime you've been with me, we've been out together.
Yeah.
I don't say no pictures, no videos.
We went to ATs together.
Yeah, we went to see ATs together in fucking hot ass Texas in the middle of fucking June or July. Worst thing we ever made. But no, it was a good concert. But anyway, I don't take videos or photos because first of all, I know that in about 15 minutes, somebody's going to have it on the internet.
Right.
I'm going to enjoy myself. And I really wish that BTS was able to experience people being like that so they can feel like they're connecting. Because right now they're just connecting with the back of a phone and they're not seeing you. They want to see you. They want you to react. They want to engage. And everybody's like, makes it a big deal. And again, not to like trail off, but people make it like, oh, people just want their YN moment. I would argue that some of these artists really want to engage with you because this is part of not just the job, but this is part of their love of craft. Like, again, segueing to another artist, when we went to go a few years ago see Beyonce in concert for the Renaissance tour, like when I say motherfuckers was in there like blubbering, crying, and she was like legit like scoping the crowd to see like and like pointing people out, and like it's strange because like obviously these artists, these celebrities are so again out of reach, and there's still like this need to want to engage with the people who care or supposed to care about you the most and who support you the most, which is your fans. And I think if people would just take a second, I'm not saying you don't record the concert. I know there are some instances where people have a hard, I saw this girl talk about it on TikTok once about how they have a hard time remembering things. And so they record to remember. Valid. I'm not taking that away from you, but maybe take a minute, take a couple songs just to be engageful, especially if you're in those front rows. Cause, yeah, I think it's going to get to the point where they're going to start calling people out for real, like on stage. Like, and I would not want to be one of the multitude of people getting called out by any member, but especially not non. He already said he's going to be honest. So good luck to y'all in the front.
Yeah. And I even found myself, I'm trying to do a better job at not recording so much, because if I'm going to be honest, like I really don't go back after a certain amount of time to watch those videos. So it's like, why am I really recording them? So I should be more in the moment. I know with J-Hope, the second day when we were a little bit closer, I didn't have my phone out at all. I may have taken some videos with Nae's phone when I was with her and Gina, but I tried to focus more on the concert. Same thing with Jin. And even when I went to go see Twice, I like to record like the openings, the introductions, and then maybe like talking to the audience a little bit. But like when it comes to them actually performing, I am trying to do better to just like be in the moment. So,
and with most people doing multiple concerts, like you could literally just like not record everything and record some one day and some then like another part another day. And like at the end of the day, these tickets are not fucking cheap, and you should experience this and not just want something as like a trophy or like again not to take away from people who want those reminders, but yeah, I think there's some merit to what they're saying. That I think they want people to really engage with them in the way that it's meant to be engaged with. Like, this is how we're supposed to connect with BTS. We're supposed to connect with BTS through their music. Can't do that if they're seeing is the back of your fucking, Apple phone or Samsung or whatever. They're not seeing you. They're not seeing your reactions. I think I remember, who was it? Was it J-Hope's concert? No, never mind. That was 17's concert. We were talking about how like they were looking out to the crowd and seeing the reactions of people. Like, they're paying attention. You might not think they can see you, or might not think that, they're paying attention, but yeah, if you're having a real reaction to stuff, I think that they remember things like that. Like, they're human. They see it. And so we've spent a lot of time on Body to Body.
Yes.
But overall, like I said, I think that, with that, the lyrics and that, I genuinely do feel for the people in the front row, because I feel like Namjoon's petty enough to start pointing people out individually.
So also just real quick with Body to Body, then we're going to move on. I saw someone on Twitter mention, because there's one part where Yoongi starts his part where he says BT from everywhere to Korea. And they had pointed out how he didn't say the S, because like when you translate BTS, it is Bulletproof Boy Scouts. So if you take away the S, which is Sonyeondan, it takes away the boys. So it also kind of points out like it's still BTS, but, removing the boys, these are now men. And acknowledging that they reach everywhere outside from Korea. So they're bringing all the world together with their music.
Also with J-Hope, I think that whole... I don't think this was a shot by any means, but like, I always think something different than probably the intention. At the end of his verse on Body to Body, he was talking about like, be about it, be about it, be about it. You can, what did he say? You
can see about it or you read about it. I'm looking at it right now. Yeah.
And it's like, because I'm terrible remembering lyrics. But I think that part is just like, again, kind of going into people who have something to say always about them and their music. Like, well, you can see about it, you can come see about it, or you can read about it, but you're still going to be engaging in it one way or the other. Like, you can either be a part of this, or you can read about it in, the vlogs or the reviews, or like, I think that was kind of not a shot, but kind of like, you can either be a part of this thing, or you can hang from outside the club, essentially. Like, so that was another lyric that I was thinking of sitting here, like, with just talking about the rap lines. Because again, with the vocal unit, I think before we move on, one of the more interesting things I found with the first half of this album is like, it's very centered obviously around like rap line with support of the vocal unit, which in so many ways is kind of how they started. Mm-hmm. They were for lack of better words, not necessarily a rap focus group, but they were primarily a rap group with vocal backing or vocal support. And I think that kind of is like a nod to that in a way, just with how forward the first half of this album is to the rap line and just to the hip hop space. So yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. So let's go on to song number 2, which is one of my favorites personally. I got it from the first listen. I know Shay over there rolling her eyes because there was one part she couldn't mess with at first. Hopefully it grew on her, but it is Hooligan, which we actually did later on get a music video for. So it's produced by El Guccino.
Good luck. Uh-huh. You got it. I believe in you.
Is it fake? Like fake Guido? Is that how you say it? I don't know.
Yeah,
okay. Right. In Jasper Harris, lyric credits by Pablo Diaz Riexa, who was actually El Guino's real name. I don't know if this is a typo or not. I don't know if it's Michael or Miguel Magne, Pablo Martinez Alberch, and Marcus Marklo Lomax. This is what I meant by apologize.
You got it. You did it.
Okay. So referencing the studio notes again, J-Hope actually gave Jungkook pretty much all the credit for the song. He remembers in LA, like Jungkook was so excited to like show him that he was working on this song. And then JK kind of stated like for some reason the word like hooligan kept coming to his mind. And he didn't know that this would end up being like the title of the song. And we also learned during the Spotify event in New York that it was Jungkook who added in the laugh that rap line does in the song, which I love and I find incredibly sexy. I'm just going to say it. Okay. They also really thanked El Guccino in this for helping put the song together. And I didn't know, because Namjoon mentioned this, that he is like basically Rosalia's right-hand man and talked about his style of music, which... As you can tell, Lala's not here, and I know she stated there was one song she wanted to talk about. I don't know if it was this one, but I also know there's like some controversy with Rosalia with like the Hispanic community because she's like Spanish, but like I guess in the start of her music, I'm not part of the Hispanic community, but I guess in their way, like think she was kind of in her own way like cosplaying Hispanic music, so. I don't know anything about that, but I just wanted to point that out. I wasn't sure. But then, yeah, I can't really explain the Hooligan music video. I like it. They've done 3 music videos that we'll talk about. I'll just say it now. 2.0, Swim, and Hooligan. I will be honest, 2.0 is my favorite for many reasons we'll talk about when we get into the song. But I did enjoy the Hooligan one. They just went very... I do think they kind of went back to the roots in this. It was very like dark and then like... I don't know, mysterious. I love the woman with the swords. That was very cool in that. And just like, I guess Shay had said this one time, or she got this from someone. It was just like if BTS had money back then, this is the type of music video they would make. So
yeah, it's debut BTS, but this time with money. So
yes, basically.
Which there's a whole with the music video. There's a whole like thread I think of people who have found similarities between Hooligan and Not Today. Just a lot of like shots that are very reminiscent of that music video, which again, like once again, going back to the roots, those are early days, very hip hop forward, makes a lot of sense. Just to touch on my issue with the with the album, had nothing to do with like, I mean, I will say this, and I'll just point it out because I think it just deserves to be pointed out. Like, there has been a little bit of controversy with the term hooligan. It is I guess for lack of better words, it is a derogatory word, I believe is what I've seen some people say. I think with the Irish community, I could be wrong on that. I might be wrong on that, but I think it's the Irish. I don't see a whole lot of people like talking in a way being offended by it. It's just more or less like, why would they use this term if it is a specific, like if it is a supposed offensive term, which once again, like I said, the album's not above critique. I don't know what other word they could have supplemented that would have made sense. So it's one of those things that's just like, I get it. I understand, but there's nothing, I don't know. I have no further comment on that. I will just say, like I say with everything, if you found something offensive, that's a valid emotion. You're valid in feeling that way. My personal experience has never come across anyone who's ever been offended by that. But again, I can't be all places at once. So we'll just leave that there. My issue with the song had nothing to do with anything offensive other than I have very sensitive ears and like specifically to when like cutlery is being scraped against anything. So like fork scraped on like a glass or like a ceramic plate, or people when they eat and they pull the fork or the spoon and they graze their teeth. I can hear it even if we're in a crowded room, hear it, and it just like that first knife slice, I literally threw my headphones out of my ears and I just stopped because I couldn't go. I was like, there's no way that's going through the entire song. And it was better through the, it was very loud, obviously in the beginning and the ending, but throughout the album, it had kind of the mixing definitely kind of leveled out. And then also the different, I cannot listen to that song with earbuds. I have to listen to that song in a big speaker because it's just okay enough for me not to like literally almost like convulse. But overall, like the song for me probably isn't it's not my top favorite of the first. I do say that I do literally look at this album in like the halfway. On the front half, these are my favorites, and on the back half, these are my favorites. So of the front half, I would say that this rates pretty low to me as a song. For me, it wasn't my favorite. It's grown on me though, for sure. With the music video, much like you, I think that for me, it goes 2.0 Hooligan and Swim for music video. As far as interest, like
yes,
I think they're just to segue a little bit. I think that all the music videos are very interesting, but I think that they're interesting for different reasons. And I think as a completed music video and all the things that I like out of a music video, I think 2.0 hits all those marks for me. But I think that Hooligan is a good track. I don't think it's a bad track. I just think it's the weakest of the first half of these songs. I was wrong on this when we were talking about the production. I thought this was going to be more Latin based. I mean, that could also just be ignorance because it's definitely very laced with more Latin-esque producers and writers and things like that. But I mean, I was pleasantly surprised and wrong in that aspect. But
there is a line that Yoongi says, like L.
Yeah, that's what Lala wanted to talk about, I think.
Okay, because I was seeing people online, again, this goes into the whole not every like race or ethnicity is a monolith. So I was seeing people, especially like I think down in Mexico, I don't know how I ended up in their Twitter space being very happy about that shout out, but I'm sure, like you stated, there were some people that did it. And that's why I said when I talked about that guy being Rosalia's right-hand man, I figured this was the song she wanted to talk about. So I don't know what that means for me because I don't know who that is as far as the person, this L, or if this is a brand. Is this a person? The L...
Wincho?
Is that how you say it? El Cuecho?
From what I'm looking at here, because I have the Wikipedia open too, it says professional is Pablo Diaz, professionally known as El Wincho. Is a Spanish musician, singer, and record producer. So he seems to have his hands just in a bunch of different things. I don't know. I'm not really sure what the issue is with that. So
because the word I'm looking at is LCUCUY. That's in the actual lyric.
I think is a I'm probably not 100% correct. So please forgive me for anybody who's listening to this, and feel free to comment and say that I'm a dumbass. But from what I saw, it is like a what's it called? Like almost like a boogeyman that parents used to use for their kids so they wouldn't get out of bed or something like that, kind of.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of a reminiscent to that. But I think also Yoongi has said that it's also a boxer. Like it's a nickname for a boxer, which we found.
I don't know anymore because apparently this man's stage name is based off boxing now.
Oh my God.
I've heard 3 different stories, so I don't know anymore.
Yoongi, just listen, men lie, okay? Just more of the story.
All men do is lie.
All men do is lie. And whether or not that's true is neither here nor there. I'm just going to be like, okay, Yoongi, whatever. Yeah, okay.
Whatever you say, Yoongi. Okay.
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, we all have a grandparent or have had a grandparent that used to lie about everything. So I feel like he's grandpa. He's no lie. So yeah, I mean, and listen, I am by any means, I'm not and I do, get well, Lala. I know you're under the weather. I would love to hear, her viewpoint on it. But like for me, I just feel like I'm not connected to whatever the controversy is behind these people, so I can't really speak on it. Unfortunately,
Right.
the only controversy I've seen is more or less of the title of the song, and that being kind of a quote unquote derogatory term, and then the El Cucuy. I probably fucked that up. But again, it's been kind of split down the middle of people being like, "Oh my god, how does he know about that?" and versus it being used in a derogatory way. And then of course there's the whole possibly as a nickname of a boxer he enjoys. I don't know. So, but I think just the line itself, what is it translated to in English? Do you have it?
Hang on, let me pull it back
Sure.
up. So it's like, how do you pronounce that word? El Cuchi? I don't want to say. I feel like I'm saying coochie, so that's why I'm like, please help me.
Just say L, and we'll just yeah, that, yeah.
Okay, so like this thing, it goes without saying, and then it goes into hooligan like hooligan, smash up like hooligan.
What's the line before
Time's
that?
up, get out of the way, out, and then I can bring it up now. He says all clear, Isang Mu, which apparently means nothing abnormal, but it's also like in Korean, typically something that's used in like a military setting. So I guess it often serves as the concluding remark of a verbal report. So it's kind of like Yoongi's way of like signaling his verse. And then like too, when we saw, because like he did this in the Netflix stage too, where like when he gets to, I think after the hooligan like hooligan, he's kind of like talking to one of the dancers. Remember when he's like rapping at them? So yeah.
Just for him not to look at them during the video, but it's okay.
Listen, that man is working on his eye contact. Actually, is he working on his eye? The man has trouble with eye contact. Okay, just let him be.
I mean, it's fine. I understand. Me too. Yeah, but yeah, like I said, I have no real like dislike of the song. I just, out of the songs that we have on the first half, it wouldn't be the one that I would be like, oh yeah, this one bangs, slaps. You know, like that's not personally it's not my favorite, but it's still, but that does not mean it's not a good track. I do think it's a very well produced track. I think, you know, it's gone very viral for many reasons. I mean, between Jin and JK's dance, and
yes, I love that part so much.
Yeah, people walking around doing it. And it's so funny that, you know, like you just never know what's going to go viral of what part. You just never know. Like it would be something simple like JK and Jin walking in a certain way that's what has become the viral part. But I do think this one had the most of the releases of the released ones. It did have the more like viral capability. So yeah, like I said, overall.
You want to also. Oh,
no, I wasn't saying nothing.
Oh, I was going to say, do you also want to talk about, because I don't know if this was a problem or not, but I was seeing people talk about the drop it lower than chopped and screwed, if you want to touch base on that too.
I mean, here, listen, I was actually kind of like, damn, y'all had a missed opportunity. Y'all could have actually done some chopped and screwed music in here, like chopped it down. And like, so again, it's one of those things that's like, for those who know, we were like, for those, okay, because I come from the South. I'm not from Texas, but I'm very close to Texas. And a lot of my upbringing was chopped and screwed music, Swishahouse, and, you know, like Bun B Pimp C, like all of that, like Houston, Texas, very reminiscent of my youth, right? And so for me, hearing BTS saying chopped and screwed, like, first of all, who taught you that? And second of all, like, it was like a nod to like this particular type of music. And I get why people feel like it felt kind of, I don't know what the word would be. Just like it felt kind of maybe unnecessary, but like it worked, because it says, why does bass line slapping so rude? I mean, sometimes when I'm in the car and I got a nice system and like I'll be in the truck right now listening to shit, and the bass, I'll be like, you make a stank face. That's rude. You know, it makes sense. It may not be the most, you know, correct vernacular to say it in that way, but again, it's playing upon the next part, which is drop it lower than chopped and screwed. Technically, when you're chopping and screwing music, you are lowering or dropping the key most of the time. So it starts off in a certain key, and with chopped and screwed music, it will drop down to a lower register to get that distorted sound. So it makes fucking sense. Like I don't, and again, if you don't know something, it's okay not to know something.
Which I didn't.
Yeah, but to write it off as like, it doesn't make sense. Do you listen to this music? Do you know anything about it? And I'm not trying to sound like I'm just high and mighty, but again, this is what I was, this is the shit that I listened to growing up. So these things make sense. I don't think that it was, and again, we know who's literally in these credits. They've got, I think Jasper Harris is one of the guys.
Yeah, I was going to state before we had moved on, I realized I didn't write down all the people who were credited in the writing lyrics. So let me do that now. Because after Marcus Lomax, there was also Explicit, Jungkook, DeLacy, Jasper Harris, who was also in the producer credits, RM, J-Hope, Suga, Derek, Milano, P-Dog, and Kirsten, Alyssa Spencer. So I forgot to mention that earlier, and I want to make sure I mentioned them before we moved on.
Yeah, Jasper Lee Harris has worked with Baby Keem and Kendrick Lamar on Family Ties. DeLacy she's a songwriter, so she's worked with a few notable people. I'm just kind of looking through them right now just to kind of give an idea. Yeah, I mean, and like I said, you know how much like people are like, oh, this is not offensive to them. You know how many rappers right now who exist in the rap spaces rap about shit they've never done? Like like the amount of rappers that talk about things that they've never drinking lean that they've never drank, don't even know how to mix it. Like, I mean, it's not uncommon for hip hop, especially these new age rappers and some old ones, to have never done half the shit they said or experienced half the shit they talk about. If it rhymes and it works, it works. And not to say, once again, not trying to belittle like the AAV conversation or the AAVE conversation or anything like that, or using certain vernaculars in a certain way and making sense. I think sometimes, my opinion, that we get hung up on it because it's easy. It's it's an easy shot. It's low hanging fruit. But personally, for me, I didn't see a problem with it. I was actually kind of disappointed in the fact that no one chopped and screwed anything. Like, if you're going to say it, then do it. Like, so I'm actively looking for a good chopped and screwed version. I think it would be interesting for like a DJ to mix that in and like actually do that. I think it would be cool. So hopefully maybe somebody will be on that on, YouTube eventually.
So that was pretty much Hooligan. And again, just talking about they're coming back, acting like fools on this beat, like hooligans. And then you also got like Namjoon making clear statements like, where is it? Oh, like they're the mess, get a bigger mop here, but also like this is that K, gotta get a better pop here, which surprise no one really talks about as much. I feel like that's a very, powerful line, especially relating to them as being like K-pop artists. But then like, again, the way even fans too talk about like how they're bigger than the K-pop genre. So kind of see that reflected in that one line.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing, in my opinion, I feel like people feel like speaking upon your accolades that you've earned, whether you feel like they've earned them in the right way or not, is irrelevant. But speaking about yourself in a way that is boastful feels arrogant. I don't know. I just feel like, I'm not even trying to like give a pass, but like I do think that hip hop as a genre is very competitive. It used to be. It's a lot of it is. I mean, the whole like reason the like Kendrick Lamar and Drake shit was so jarring for a lot of people that witnessed that in real time is in the beginning of all that, Kendrick is essentially saying there can only be one great of our generation. You know what I mean? And it's me. So literally just saying, hey, y'all not seeing me. Y'all not seeing me in this rap thing for real. Like, I'm the best, period, point blank. And just say that. You know what I mean? And where you had like J. Cole, for instance, who was like, love J. Cole, shout him out, was like, there's room for everybody. And in a way there is, but there's always going to be somebody who is considered the great of that generation. Now, people will argue all day long in the past about, is it Tupac, is it Biggie? It's an East Coast, West Coast thing. And the reason I think why rap and hip hop in general is such a harshly competitive genre is because of the inclusion of being able to take those shots, being able to like say that you are the best at this, or that the person that you're talking about or the diss that you're sending it's going to hit in the way that it does. And so people think that, if I'm not saying anybody said this, but I think the sentiment around why people maybe not talking about it is because there's a bit of arrogance that comes with basically saying what he said as far as like, we the K, you're going to need a better pop. Like, not for nothing, but a lot of K-pop was not that great in their absence. And I'm not even like, again, I love certain groups. I think certain groups did very well, but I think K-pop as a whole was on a decline when it comes to the sound and the experimentation. And I'm not going to sit here and act like BTS wasn't a part of that, because I do think it's a part of that. I think there are certain groups that move the needle, and there's certain, and that's that way in the West too. There are artists that move needles. Look at Beyonce. Nobody was really, not even trying to like give her the full credit, but like Beyonce dropped Cowboy Carter, and we started seeing a lot of people being interested in making country music all of a sudden. You know what I mean? There are some artists that just move the needle, and that's okay. That doesn't make, I mean, in my mind, it doesn't make them great, but there are just some people that push the needle in the direction that where music needs to go. And BTS for K-pop, I believe, is one of those groups that does that. So he's just speaking what he feels and what he's experienced, especially, and even if you don't look at it from the whole K-pop, just look at it from a HYBE standpoint, I would not be shocked if in the next quarter or so we're seeing some similarities. Maybe not verbatim, but some similarities to what we've seen on Arirang in other work. So yeah, that's Hooligan.
Yes, so on to the next song, which, listen, I keep saying this, the first half before the bell is my absolute favorite. I'm just gonna be honest.
Yeah.
So like how there's a point, you know, a side A and a side B, I'm more of a side A, so I'm gonna say a majority of the first half, except for one song, but I like it now, and it's grown on me, is my jam. And, you know, I still like the second half though. Like Shay had mentioned earlier, I listened to this fully. Like, I don't skip a song or anything, even if it's like lower on my personal ranking, which says a lot because I'm actually not an album person. I usually am just a singles girl. Yeah. So, but yes, we're gonna move on to the next track, Aliens. So this one was produced by Mike Will Made It, which is a very well-known name in the hip hop community.
Yeah.
Is it Plus? Loose? Plus?
Loose, probably.
Loose. Okay. Donut, and Khalid Roham, with writing credits by Michael Land Williams II, which I found out is actually Mike Will Made's real name. R.M. Ashton, Terrence O'Neill. Did I forget commas in these? Or is that one person? Oh, no, that's one person. So yes, Ashton, Terrence O'Neill, Hogan, Brandon Kenneth.
Yeah, Brandon Kenneth Bell, who is also Donut. That's his, yeah.
Oh, okay. See, that makes sense. Like, I'm like, who's this person? But yes, Brandon Kenneth Bell, Khalid Roham, Charles Hinshaw, Gene Marcel Day Jr., James Essen, J-Hope, Jungkook, Suga, John Mitchell, Derek Milano, and P-Dog.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know this song, it basically speaks for itself. This is the one where I also talk about in the first part where BTS actually does talk about not really their struggle, but just like kind of mentions being Korean and like other in the music industry, especially the music industry in the West. Literally, aliens is a word that is used in the US. I don't know about any other country, but like we refer to like foreigners, usually in a derogatory way, as illegal aliens. So that's also it too. And apparently this song was almost titled Endless, that I learned in the studio notes. Okay. When the song didn't really have a structure at first, but because that's what they kept calling it, which I find it interesting. For the whole Jimmy Fallon incident, Yoongi had mentioned that since so many Korean media had gone international when they were in the military, like Squid Games 3 and Shay's favorite movie, K-pop Demon Hunters. No one really asks if they're from North or South Korea anymore. And Namjoon even mentioned that people who still do that now are looked at as weird, side eye. And then they started talking about all the years when they had to promote in America and like how Namjoon was the only one that could speak English. So they state they're trying very hard to study to help him, which you can see a little bit more in these recent interviews. But yeah.
Yeah, because Yoongi is a fully functional English-speaking person. He's just Yoongi.
As we keep stating, he's quietly, secretly fluent in English. He just don't want to be the one talking.
Very much so. I see you though, sir. Yeah, Aliens is probably no shock to anybody, my favorite of the top half. Very much a Mike Will Made It girly. I feel like now he also produced another track on this record. Aliens is legit the swaggiest fucking song I think that they've done in a long time. I mean, I listened to this shit. I think I was stuck here for a minute on like my fifth or sixth listen. I got stuck on Aliens for like a good hour. And so I'm one of those, like, I'm the autistic type that just lets shit repeat over and over and never gets tired of it. I'm one of them. Aliens, I think, outside of just the lyricism, I think is probably one of the, again, just a little bit of a side note here. People got upset throughout this entire project because of so many quote unquote hands in the pot when it comes to like producers and stuff. I would argue that if this album wasn't good, if it wasn't produced well, then I feel like BTS got scammed. So you have people like Mike Will Made It, like Diplo, like Ryan Tedder, like JPEG Mafia. You have did I say Diplo already? I think I said Diplo, but Diplo, and you have the man that worked, I can't think of his name right now, but we'll talk about later, the man that worked on Bad Bunny's album. You have all these people who are very notably involved in the music industry. If this wasn't done well, I think that would be even greater cause for more upset because it feels like they got gypped. But overall, I think that I've said this before, that this album as a whole is probably one of the better produced albums that they have. And I know that comes off very like, oh my God, how could you think that? And, you know, BTS has produced, yes. And I'm not saying that takes away from it, but I would be side-eyeing this if it wasn't one of their more better produced albums because of all the hands in the pot. And because of the names that are connected to this. Mike Will Made It is very much a very popular, I mean, his tag alone will let you know that it's either time to twerk, like it's time to throw some ass, or time to get lit in general. And I think he delivered very well on this song. It is my favorite.
Yeah.
I am biased, whatever. You know, he's worked on like big hits. I mean, one of his bigger hits is obviously like Black Beatles by Ray Shrumman. I always say that wrong. I'm pretty sure I said it wrong then too. But that obviously had its own, you know, cult following.
Hey, don't also forget the one he did with Wiz Khalifa and Miley Cyrus. That was part of my generation.
Of course, cannot forget 23. He's also done
Club, High Off Perp, My Shades On.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
When Miley was trying to be a rapper.
Yeah, you know, that was Bangers Miley. We've not seen Bangers Miley in a while.
No.
Also done, you know, I mean, I'm a 2 Chainz girly, so he's worked with 2 Chainz a whole lot. Dance and Make a Dance by Juicy J, Pull It Up by Rihanna. And again, he was on the Bangers album, We Can't Stop by Miley Cyrus, Formation by Beyonce. I mean, his Humble by Kendrick. List goes on. Man is very decorated. So him being a part of this project really did something to my spirit because once again, there's a couple of producers that I know them by their tag and I know what they bring to a project. And he is like I think it's deserving of all of the flowers and accolades on his production here. I think it's one of the better sounding and the better engineered songs as far as the structure of where everything's placed as far as like who's doing what part. And it just feels very much like, it doesn't feel like a diss track because I don't think it is much of a diss track, but it kind of just is like a pop your shit track. And yeah, I think on the production side, it was very nice to get that tag, that like Will Made It tag. And like I was like, it felt like I was powering the fuck up when I first heard it the first time. So and then obviously this song bangs in every aspect, no matter what medium you listen to it in. So very well produced, very well crafted, very much an ode, I think, to some of his earlier work. He knows how to make a viral hit. So yeah, I'm glad that they were able to do these collabs with him. Yeah. And as far as the lyrics go, I don't know if you have anything written down.
Yeah, I have a few. So like in J-Hope's part, God, it's too late for me to try to talk to Korean, but I guess I will. So he says Baksu Cho Hunduro Jung Mori, which means clap your hands and shake your body to the Jung Mori rhythm. And Jung Mori is actually like a type of, I guess it's Changdan, which is Korean traditional rhythm. I've came across a TikTok of a guy like explaining it more. If I can find it, I'm gonna link it in the description because I thought it was really interesting. Like he went through the actual beats that's in a Jungmori, and like talks about like how they're kind of like how BTS talks about, especially towards the end. He says the rhythm is kind of the same as a Jungmori. Like, I guess the production of the song, it's slightly off, but it's kind of the same at the same time. And it goes to like the beats of like when someone's walking or stepping. I'm not sure if it was used in like royalty sense, maybe. I can't remember if he mentioned that or not. So I thought that was very interesting. But even in J-Hope's verse along, because it's called like Aliens, he asks the questions like, oh my God, do I look too funny, like strange and different? But like also, what are you going to do about it? I know when we get to the chorus, like I think Jungkook starts it off where he says from the Gana to the Ha, which is like a Korean version from A to Z in their alphabet. And then it goes like, watch us and learn. Yeah, we're aliens. If you want to hit my house, Shin Baron Boso Noa. Listen, guys, I haven't practiced my Korean in a while. I apologize. But that basically means take off your shoes, which, as we know, especially in Asian cultures, like you do not wear your shoes in the house. And even in like Asian households, or at least know in like actual Asian countries, they have like when you first walk into the house, that whole like little sections where you're supposed to take off your shoes before you actually walk in there. So it's like if you want us to play your games, you can also play our games as well. I know we talked about when Namjoon and Yoongi had mentioned no one asks them anymore the difference between like South and North Korea, because there's a line where he said, let me, honey, talk about the business. Everybody now know where the K is. So like knowing where K-pop comes from, where you don't have to ask them that question. I'm just going to do all this in once. There's also a part where he says, pardon, Kim-ku Sonseng-nim, tell me how you feel, which is Mr. Kim-ku, who is actually I found a TikTok. There's this guy I follow, and I linked 2 of his videos because he talked about the bell too, which I'll talk about when we get there. His name is Junu Park. He's Korean, Canadian, but he gives a lot of really great Korean facts. And he talked about how Kim Koo was a Korean independence activist and statements. And based on Junu Park's TikTok, he's talked about how Mr. Kim was a very prominent leader of the Korean independence movement, who later became a politician in the new liberated Korea from Japan until he was unfortunately assassinated in 1949. But he stated how Kim Koo's wish was for Korea to not be an economic or military superpower, but to be a cultural superpower, which is very interesting.
Yeah, I think just going back through some of it, JK and the if you want to hit my house, like take your shoes off first. It's like almost people, it's not similar, but it's kind of reminding me of like, it's a bad metaphor or like similarity, but it's like that whole like sentiment of like before you fuck me, could you take me to dinner first? Like it's kind of giving that in my mind, like in a, like a, if you're gonna like talk shit, at least take your shoes off. You know what I mean? Like if you're gonna hit my house, if you're gonna hit me, or like, because again, house safe space is a place, especially with JK. I think that he goes and is able to like be his most authentic self. Like if you're gonna hit my house, take your shoes off first. Like I feel like that's really a clever. Is it like the most clever? No, but I think it's a very clever and very unique to, I think, him as well. Yeah, I think when it comes to, like again, we go back into the conversation of people had something to say about the lyricism and like they being the old BTS. I feel like, yeah, they're essentially still popping their shit as they should, making the references, making the callbacks to, again, figures in their culture. And I think this is one of those songs where people had a problem with it, and the song was literally calling these people out of the thing that they had a problem about. It's just like y'all don't really listen at all, it seems like, but can't expect that from some people. But overall, I think, again, the song, very well done. It is a favorite of mine, and it's I think it is one of those that when it does, because I know it's going to be on the set list. I will definitely be losing my fucking mind. I'm probably not going to remember much of it, to be honest. But yeah, overall.
I'm going to try not to lose my voice when I hear this live at the ending of the Yeah, We
Oh
Land
my
on It
God.
and Stand on It. I'm going to go absolutely insane. I'm going to be screaming like I'm on that stage, okay?
Yeah.
I'm just warning people now.
And I mean, that even calling back to that, like, Yeah, We Land on It and Stand on It, put the stamp on it. Like, I mean, they're standing on business. It's like literally standing on business. Like, I think it's more or less kind of, I don't think, I say this kind of, I guess, naively. I think there'll always be this, like, stigma's not the right word, but it is for now. There's going to always be this thing that follows BTS when it comes to crossing into this market, where it's like, you're always going to be seen as other, unfortunately, because of where you're from. And I think that with a song like this and with the context in this song, it's like they don't really give a shit. Like, they don't really care. They don't care. Like they're confident in who they are as artists, but also as men, Korean men, and they're standing on that. And I think that it's not. We got a little bit of diss tracks kind of in. I think this is one of them, but it isn't like a direct. It's just like basically again. I think they're constantly in a perpetual state of talking to the naysayers. And I'm not just talking about people that just like hate them just because of where they are in their career, but people who always seem to have something to say. I mean, we've talked a lot about like, with Namjoon specifically of like, there was this time where it felt like he was always online apologizing for something, or at least alluding to like seeing the discourse and stuff around things that he's either done, whether he did them on purpose or not. And I think in this era of their life and of their career, it's like, I don't think they're going to be apologizing for much, which again can be a little problematic, but more or less when it comes to their identity, not necessarily like things that they, put themselves in line with, but their identity, I think they're solid. And then in this whole conversation around them chasing quote unquote like Western validity, there's nothing wrong with wanting the accolades. There's nothing wrong with wanting the Grammy. There's nothing wrong with any of that. That's part of the full package of being an artist. But I don't think they've lost their identity at all. I think they know exactly who they are. They know they're different. They know they're technically quote unquote aliens when they come over here. And it also, it's like not just even in a way of just like being a foreigner, but also just being different. Like being like, you're not familiar. You're not a familiar entity. What you've done in your career can be seen kind of as like otherworldly or like alien. It's not normal. It's not the norm. So there's a lot of double meanings in a lot of these songs, the more you sit with it. But yeah, kind of offset about that one.
That's true. But yes, so let's go ahead and move on to our next song, which is titled Faya. I know a lot of us thought it was an acronym for something, but no, it's actually, it is Faya for like fire. I will be honest, even though the top half is my preferred, this one is on the lower side for me. I still very much enjoyed it, but this isn't usually the type of song I normally listen to, or I do, and I get into it for a while, and then I kind of fall off it. But I mean, I still enjoy it. So we have the producers that are credited for it. Diplo, is it Flume? Did I hear someone say it's pronounced? It's Flume? Okay, never mind. Flume and Nitty. And written by Harley Strenton, Gregory, Alday, Hine, JPEG Mafia, Thomas Wesley Pence, Curtis Wells, RM Jungkook, Richard Cook Mears the Fourth, and Suga. And in the studio notes, Yugi had actually mentioned this was the last minute addition to the album, and how I think he said he and Hobie had to basically fight for this to be added on. And then Namjoon actually stated he was the one to reach out and invite JPEG to work on the album, and how when he went to work with him and Flume, I guess like Flume and JPEG have this way of talking, Namjoon mentioned, where like they kept saying around him like, that's fire, or like, that's fire, bro, and like when they were working on songs. So like that actually kind of inspired the song because they kept saying to each other, that's fire. So yeah, and you can see that too, because in the lyrics there's like, everything lit is fired, everything big is fire. So I guess he got that inspiration from hearing them talk.
Probably so. I mean, JPEG Mafia, I think, is from New York. I'll check that. Yeah, he's from Brooklyn. And so, I think, again, going back to like different dialects and stuff, I don't think I've ever heard, and I don't think he's lived in New York this whole time. So it's very possible that he, oh no, he's from Baltimore. Oh, okay. Well, that makes even more sense. Yeah, never mind. He,
you changed your whole thought on
yeah,
that.
I didn't realize he was from Baltimore. He's lived in Brooklyn most of his life, but
okay.
Yeah, them B-Moors, man, they they say all kinds of crazy shit. So yeah, he is a very decorated rapper. I mean, very known for I think his relationship with Kendrick. If I'm not mistaken. So yeah, he has been living in California. Okay, yeah, I just wanted to make sure I was right. Yep. So yeah. Anyway, I think he was working or he was up under Kendrick's label a little while. Anyway, Fi is also also in the beginning probably was one of my least favorite. It definitely has grown on me. It's one of those songs that I think is definitely better performed than it is listened to, but I do think it has its place. I've seen a lot of people like very much put this on their gym playlist. I can see that being a very good like cardio heavy song. I don't know this because I haven't seen anything because I'm trying to, but I imagine that there will be some kind of link between Faya and fire because why wouldn't there be? I mean, like it's just literally it's right there. And if it's not cool, I think some of the bigger things I've seen on this particular song was like people were, and I hate to keep talking about the things that people didn't like. It's just kind of easy to like talk about them. I think the whole like club go crazy, like Britney baby, hit me one more time. I think people were upset because they were kind of using Britney as a like a punching bag, which doesn't make any sense because they also reference Michael Jackson.
I thought she had a song called Crazy, though. That's what they're referencing. Because I saw people talking about that, too. Doesn't she have a song called Crazy?
She had two. She had the song called Crazy and a song called Hit Me Baby One More Time. Like,
right. So they could have been talking about both songs.
You know how the media, you know how the internet is.
I know, especially when talking about Britney.
Free Britney, always. I mean, she is free now, but, you know, it's still very much free Britney from everything. But even that, like, they reference Michael Jackson, too. And, oh, my God, I don't know. I think you were around when I got on the internet and saw somebody ask what that reference was for.
Oh, yeah.
For the Britney reference. And I was just like, there's no way that I'm living in a world where people don't know who Britney Spears is. Like, there's a saying that goes...
You are now, Shay. You are.
I'm not that old, bitch. But like, there's a saying that's like, the most famous people that's ever walked the earth is Jesus Christ, Michael Jackson, and Britney Spears. And if we're losing Britney, that means we're close to losing Michael as far as people knowing, and I can't have that. So, I mean...
I think Michael's in a different situation because he's always going to be known as the king of pop. And we're still always referencing him, especially if you... I feel like Michael will be one of those people will always know. Whether they don't know him, like, as much, there always goes,
Somebody's always passing it down. Yeah.
Yes. We're getting the Michael Jackson movie. Didn't that already come out? Did that come out already? No?
No. It comes out, I think, 20th?
Oh, I thought it came out yesterday for some reason.
It might have, girl. I don't know. Listen, I've been, I've been out and doing things.
Oh, you're right. It's the 24th.
Oh, is it? Yeah, I was close. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good track to get the concert hype. It's definitely a hype track. Again, very much just enthralled with the hip hop cultural things. Everything's lit. Everything lit. That's fine. Definitely gives me a little bit of a Charlie XCX. I thought about that a lot when I first heard it. Like for some reason it just was like this felt very Brat summer for me. Just very intense, very high intense track. It'll be a good if it's put in the latter half of the concert. I think it'll be a good to get it, back up. Because again, I feel like, and I don't know, but I feel like the concert's going to go in like waves, just with the amount of if they're doing basically the whole album, if they do, which I hope they do, then I feel like it's going to go in waves, and it'll be good to like bring the energy back up in. Lot of potential for transition into some older material, I think. Oh, the biggest I guess people had is like the whole like, what was the lyric? Something with my slime. Again, going back to like it's low hanging fruit. Like that is something that is so that with my slime, like it's just with my friend or with my boy, with my whatever. It's just like it's something that's just so ingrained in like current social media like shit. It almost kind of reaches outside of quote unquote AAVE. It's just every fucking where. I was literally listening to it.
Did I just blur that out? I didn't even know that was a lyric.
Really?
Yeah. I must have always block it out or something. Yeah, I found it. It's in the pre-chorus, I guess. Mm-hmm. Yeah, where I can hear JK saying it now, where he says, "Give me that, make me sweat, something I can't forget, burn it out with my slime, we in a flame, go wild." Huh.
I mean, again, I don't think every song has to be a lyrical fucking masterpiece. It's a hype track. Again, like, I'm cool with there being. I don't. If I want to listen to some like super lyrical shit, I'll go listen to fucking Mono or something. You know, some Right Place, Wrong Person. You know, everything doesn't have to be super deep. It has to have a double meaning. Lit. That's all it is. It's lit. That's all it needs to be. Like, it's just lit, and that's cool.
Everything's fire.
Everything's lit. That's fine. Trying to think if there's anything else on this particular track that I wanted to talk about. I don't really think there's anything really.
It's pretty self-explanatory. Yeah. It's just one of those ones that's supposed to make you dance, go crazy. Yeah. Again, just like we keep repeating, everything is fire.
It's a repetitive track. And I think and again, just back into a little more controversy. Seems like that's just all I'm here for. A lot of people were upset, I think, with just the repetitiveness of it, of some of these tracks, which again, valid critique. But once again, I stand on like, not everything doesn't have to be super deep. It doesn't have to be like super lyrical or have all these innuendos. Everything doesn't have to be that way. Sometimes it's okay to break up that monotony of just this. Again, like there are albums for that. We have albums for that. I think it's okay for them just to let loose and have fun and have a fun track that's not, again, like crowded with all this like genius moments and stuff. But I think it's going to be a fun track to, get lit to, especially me about 15 buzzballs in, going into hot ass Vegas stadium. So yeah, I look forward to it. And they also, just from the Netflix special, well, they had a lot of fun performing it. I mean, Namjoon was running around on half a foot, but
and we kept telling the man to sit down.
You don't listen, girl. You don't listen to nobody for shit.
I know.
But I'll be excited to see them, essentially get lit. I'm sure it's a fun experience. Y'all have been witnessing that I refuse to watch.
It's fine. And that's why when you keep saying stuff, I'm not saying anything. I'm not confirming or denying anything you're saying. I want this to be a surprise for you.
I'm going to come back to this and see if I was right. Just by the way. So.
Okay. I'll have you come back on the show as well to talk about how much you were right. Right.
Yeah. Just one whole episode of me and how right I am. Sounds like my kind of party.
It does. But yes, let's go ahead and move on to a song that has truly grown on me. And now I think is becoming like in my top 3. I liked it from the first listen, but this was also another one. Again, we keep talking about the controversies. I feel like her first half of it was just full of controversies. But this song, especially until the switch up happened and we got the music video, which is 2.0. So it's produced once again by Mike Will Made and Plus. Did we say?
Plus, yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So lyric credits by Michael Led Williams II, Ashton Terrence O'Neill Hogan, Atia Bogues, Charles Hinshaw, RM, J-Hope, V, Jungkook, John Mitchell, Derek Milano, P-Dog, and Suga. And funny enough, another member was actually against this song. Do you want to guess which member it was?
Was it rap line or vocal line?
Vocal line.
Jimin?
Oh my God, you're correct. It was Jimin, actually. He was opposed to this song. And he stated the reason is because it was difficult for the vocal line since it was such a hip hop heavy song. And we kind of see that too in the documentary. I've mentioned when we talked about the documentary, they give us a scene actually of like P-Dog kind of guiding Jimin when recording this song. So I guess that was more struggling for him than I realized until I watched this and he said that. And so Namjoon had also compared this to Hooligan because the vocal line really kind of only have like one melody. They're singing like back to back. But 2.0 was different in the cadence that they had to sing for their line and then get the beat and the tone right with the way this song is kind of like formatted compared to Hooligan. And on the Jimmy Fallon show as well, I think it was Taeyoung. I didn't watch their full interview yet. I will later. It's on my list. Listen, guys, I'm a busy adult. But I believe it was Taeyoung who talked about how the song also represents BTS's new confidence as they return as a group. And they've surprisingly, despite the pushback, the controversies, have been promoting this a lot more than I thought they would, along with their title track Swim. And we did get a music video that dropped with it, with the aesthetics inspired by a really popular old Korean movie called Old Boy, directed by Park Chan-wook, which I find hilarious because it kind of made it kind of what I thought Hooling it was going to be, but this has like a comedian type to it. There's a lot of similarities if you go online to the movie, to this music video. Like they made the references to a T, which I think also made it really tasteful in a way as well. And the comparisons of the story to Old Boy to this song and the music video. And I guess if anyone wants to watch the movie, if you can, not spoiler, trigger warning, because it's very graphic. There's a lot of Korean movies. I don't think people realize like actual Korean movies, not K-dramas, can be very graphic. Right. I didn't realize too, I watched one of this director's movies, The Handmaiden, which, listen, all I'm gonna say is just lesbians. It's very graphic when it comes to lesbians. So right. The good old lesbian sex. So
we love the lesbians.
We do.
Yeah, 2.0 definitely is my favorite video between the three. I think it just encompasses, outside of just the references it did to, because I've never seen the movie, but I figured it was something before like diving in. I figured they were because it felt very much like an old, almost like an old movie about like a retired cop, and that's probably not what the movie's about, but it gave me like, there's a storyline here, and it's like this guy, it's almost like Taken a little bit, where it's like some guy's like searching for somebody and having to find all these thugs and, you know, go through the motions and all this very action-y type stuff. So I figured there was like a reference there. I just didn't know what it was at the time. But it is my favorite video because I feel like with the different things that they do in this video, between choreography, which is super good, but also the breaks in whether being, again, funny as fuck or stupid in the face. Like I mean, I think it encompasses a lot of why I think a lot of people like BTS. They are very talented, but they're also very comedic and just a bunch of stupid men, essentially. You know, that just, you know, again, they're very unserious most of the time. The scene of them in the elevator, like, I know a lot of people are like, oh my God, Jimin's back, but like, I couldn't help but like stare at Namjoon like trying to fucking put on clothes like a fucking Neanderthal. Like, I'm just like, they're just such genuine. I think they're just such genuine people and funny for no reason. But like, I think we saw a little bit of, not like August D for sure, but I feel like we kind of got a little, like, he's in there still somewhere, you know, like
he came out a little bit. I'm not gonna lie,
he's in there. He's gone, but he's the remnants are still there. They can come out anytime.
Yes,
we don't want them to, because again, that was in a very angry time in his life. But I think the essence of August D will always be with Yoongi. And sometimes he pops out a little bit, just depending on what he does. And then this video, it definitely was giving a little bit of D-Day for me. Just the vibe and the look. And that's another thing that reminded me of is with like the Haga music video a little, with just like this, there's an obvious like cat and mouse theme with that one. And this one felt very similar to that. I thought about that for a minute. Again, the choreography is really good. Am I wrong? Were they in the high building going up? Was that the high building they were in?
I don't know if they use the high building as a set, but that set they're in also is a like reference to a certain scene in Old Boy too.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they filmed it in the high building. I wouldn't be shocked.
It looked a lot like the high, you know how they'll do the challenges and stuff yeah, it looked a little bit like the top floor or whatever, I guess, in there. I was just like, are they in the high building?
Maybe. They probably decorated it to look like the office scene that's in Old Boy that I've been seeing clips of. So I don't know where they got the water from though, how they made that.
But no, this is my favorite music video for sure. I think that this song is another one of those songs that's better performed. I think it gives the right amount of energy, but it doesn't feel as intense as Faya does. Like, Faya makes you want to like go run, even though I don't, but it makes you feel like you need to go like get the energy out. I think 2.0 is a little
mosh pit.
Yeah, very mosh pit like. I think 2.0 is very it's chill, but again, it's repetitive enough to be kind of earwormy. I've absolutely changed the lyrics from in the hook where it's like, we on that brand new, like, bitch, I'm brand new. I say that. I don't give a fuck what they say. Like, that's just how I say it. I think utilizing, again, what I love about this album in general, I meant to talk about this a little earlier, was just the usage of, like, it feels like everybody got, like, equal parts. I don't feel like anybody was left behind, even though in the documentary we see Jin came in kind of later after being on tour and that whole debacle. But it feels like everybody was really balanced and used well in this album. And this is a good example because you have like Jimin and JK like bouncing off one another, and then they swap at the end with JK and K, and it's same with Jin and Jimin, and it's just very well done. And those are little things that I notice when it comes to the engineering part of it, and people who do the placements and stuff. Like it's very well crafted. And so 2.0 wasn't an automatic favorite, but it has grown on me for sure. I find myself listening to it a lot.
Yeah, same. And then, like, I don't know, because you're also a big Beyonce fan. Maybe they got this from Beyonce, and we'll talk about this in the later half. I feel like they utilize the vocal line doing harmonies a lot more.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's where I feel like it also feels like everyone got equal parts instead of just like having vocal line do one verse and then the other. We have hidden back vocals. Like you can clearly hear them harmonizing a lot more in a lot of these songs.
Very well thought out, and they were all used, I think, to the best of their ability. I love that Jimin is in his deeper vocal range. I know a lot of people really wanted him to get them high. Like, and not for nothing, love Jimin to death, but sometimes I think it's a struggle. It's a struggle for anybody who is got a wider range. Those notes are not very sustainable, and yes, you probably do things to help sustain those things, but it can wear on your vocals. It can. And so I love it. I love when he does like lower notes and he's like in that. Again, he's very like this song and this one and Aliens, ironically, both being made by or produced primarily by Mike Will, made it. Very swaggy song, very chill, but just like impressionable. Like even in the beginning, Yoongi's verse, it was like, I hear it. I'm bad with lyrics. It's essentially saying,
you want me to read them to you?
Yeah, read the first Yoongi's first verse.
Okay, I'm not reading it in Korean, guys. I'll read the translation. Yes. So sure, quote, like Bangtang, it's easy to say, as if we're a vaulting box. They try to jump over us all the time. It's funny, but not really. See, they don't stand a chance against the 10 years we've built. Stop, ride.
Like
and then the chorus. Yeah. Sorry, this is my song.
Guys, all right.
That's your blog. We go knock, 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 knock. Right. Yeah, has your little fun, fella. You're not going to be wanting to stand next to me during the concert. I'm just saying.
Well, I'm not going to be, but yeah, good luck to whoever stands next to them out. I think just that in general, like there's always this conversation around who's the next BTS. And even if it's not something that like bothers BTS, that sentiment of just like, say the first part again, because I want to make sure I'm getting it correct. Just the first line.
Sure, like Bangtang, it's easy to say.
Yeah. Like, yeah, it's easy to say that you can create another one of us, but there won't be another one of us. They won't have, even if you curate group and fashion it after us, they don't have our story. They don't have our come up. They don't have our longevity. They don't have the core audience that's been built. There's a lot of things that go into BTS that's not just, oh, they were just, this group that just happened upon, this fame and acquired. There's a real like connection. One of the reasons why I really love BTS is there's a real connection between their come up story into where we are now, how ARMY plays a part of that, and how their own stories play a part of that. So people can attempt, and there's nothing wrong with, I guess, attempting to try to duplicate that, but there's something very like authentic about how they came up and the things that they went through, the things that they've talked about. The things that we've seen and some of the shit we haven't. Even if you create a group and you fabricate a group off of the likeness of BTS, it can't be BTS. There's just, they don't have that same grit. And I think that kind of like the nail in the coffin with that conversation. And I'm glad that Yoongi said something because it has been like, it's always something. There's been so many articles written about like, not any group specifically, but just the idea of like creating the next BTS or having another moment like that. I don't think it doesn't mean that other groups cannot do great things that they do. I just don't think we're going to have another situation. We have the exact same formula with BTS. I don't think anybody really, really honestly wants that if you really think about it.
I mean, probably not. But even in the pre-chorus too, I mean, they stated themselves before I finished it, they said they're coming back for what's theirs. So
yeah, I mean, and that's, like I said, the song is very self-explanatory. I mean, there's no reason to do too much deep diving because, again, it's just like They left. People had their fun coming back from upstairs, but yet they're on something brand new. You know what I mean? Like, this was the one that there's, oh my God. Okay.
I was just about to ask you before we move on, did you want to bring up your biggest problem?
Oh my God. I was going through the song and I was like, well,
I was going to bring it up if you didn't.
Yeah. Okay. So one of my biggest pet peeves, those of you, if you're still here listening, first of all, you're the real one. I'm sure someone's going to edit this very nicely as much as she can.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I absolutely want besides the things that I requested in the first half of this, Hybe, you need to hire someone that can go through these lyrics and make sure we put the right lyrics for it hits Spotify or hits print. Because this is now the second fucking time we've had an instance where there has been something that has been misinterpreted. The first instance was JK's 7, where Lotto is her verse. And in the printed material and on Spotify and every other, whatever other music source you listen to, the lyrics read, tightly take control, tightly take his soul. Lotto's not saying that. Lotto is saying type 2, as in I'm the type to take control, type to take his soul. It's just the way she says it, because she's not from Atlanta, but she's hailed from Atlanta for long enough to be called, from Atlanta. It's her accent. And yet, again, that's one example. So now we have Namjoon's verse, which, again, this has become a big thing now, but I've literally argued with people in comment sections about what Namjoon says when he's like, pop, 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 pop.
Yep. Pop, baby, get too lit, rah, 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 rah. Hit him up like pop. Hit him with the truth like rah.
Pause.
Okay.
So it's not hit him up like pop, because it makes no fucking sense, but it's hit him up like Pac, as in Tupac, as in the rapper, because he has a song called Hit Him Up. That's what it makes sense. It's wordplay. And then the second part of that is hit him with the truth like Raw. That's referencing Raw Digga. So if we have one, that's a clear, because again, in the printed material, it says hit him up like Pop, as in P-O-P. Now I got to argue with fucking people online about what he meant, and because they are taking what you put in the print as Bible, and that's not what it is. So Hybe, in 2026 and beyond, please hire someone to fine-tooth comb these lyrics if you cannot just... And you have the person there, like literally, he could... I'd really, honestly, Namjoon, please come out and correct people. So I can stop arguing with people in the comment section of people trying to tell me that you said hit him up like Pop, which makes no fucking sense.
But Pac would make sense because the mixtape he pretends doesn't exist, or maybe he pretends doesn't exist with the song Joke. He's mentioned Tupac before.
Exactly. Again, people don't listen. That's how I know people don't really give a fuck about their own work like that, as far as like trying to be like, I miss old BTS. You don't, because you didn't listen to it. You would have known the reference if you listened to it.
Yeah, but I was still going too, because apparently other people were pointing out the Time to Pay Your Debt, Fear Me or Fear Me Not, the Let It Be, Let It Bleed, Hit a Lick, and a Split. Apparently there's other references to other songs.
Yeah.
I heard someone point out the Beatles, but I don't remember for which part.
Let It Be is from the Beatles.
The Let It Be? Okay.
And Let It Bleed, I think, is Rolling Stone.
Okay.
So 2 references to, again, some quote-unquote greats.
And they've been compared to the Beatles before, so a lot.
Mm-hmm. And of course, like Rolling Stones, again, they're very goated in their own right. And that's it. And that's all. So yeah, that's my complaint, and I need them to fix that. That's one of the reasons why I don't want to buy the album, because it's wrong. Fucking wrong, and it bothers me, and I'm autistic, and it makes me like literally want to break out in hives.
Oh my God, Shay.
Like, it just does. Like, it's just like, because again, I got to argue with people who don't know shit and clearly are not smart enough to just go look the shit up. And I had to literally explain to this person on the internet, which I don't even know why I bothered. But like, I'm talking to literally nobody most of the time, of that. This is not the first time that Hybe has made the mistake of fucking up lyrics in the written part of it. But, all right, well, I guess that would be a good point to segue into the bell.
Yes, the lovely bell, where it gave us the cleanse and the reset that we really needed for the rest of the album. So apparently this bell is the recording of the Sacred Bell of Great King Songdok, or also known as the, oh God, Korean, it's so late. Emily Bell. I just blanked out for a minute there. Emily Bell, and it's one of Korea's most iconic bronze bells, cast in 771 during the unified Shilla period.
Mm.
It is a minute and 37 seconds to match the currency of the bell's renaissance when it struck. I thought I also heard it was to match how long it took the king to walk, but more articles I found stated that's how long it took for the bell to like stop ringing.
Mm.
So it's supposed to emulate that.
Mm.
And again, the TikToker that I talked about earlier, Jinu Park, he talked about how the bell is the 29th item of the national treasures designed by the Korean government, which is why they named it number 29. He mentioned how it's also has this really dark myth to it. He says don't believe it, obviously, but there was a myth for this bell of a baby being inside the bell.
Oh.
So basically, the story goes that the Buddhist monks in Shilla collected donations to cast this great bell. But one poor widow could only offer her baby, and the monks at first, declined. But when the bell could not produce a proper sound, it was believed that not all the offerings were accepted, prompting the monks to go back, collect the child from the widow, and sacrifice the baby into the molten metal. And the bell was completed and said to ring with the haunting Malay sound like a child's cry. So I guess they also compared the sound, making it sound like a child's wailing. And of course, obviously, don't believe it because it's not true, especially in a Buddhist, country. And he talks about the design and all that too, which I thought was interesting. But I guess the last time the bell was officially rung, because they're trying not to really ring it anymore to preserve it since it's so old, was back in September of 25, which was actually the first time they rung it in 22 years. And I also think around that time, they rung it due to BTS using this in the album. Bong PD had ended up going there. I think Namjoon was supposed to go as well, but he couldn't because of conflict of like schedules. They rung the bell, and that's where they got the recording of it. But yeah.
Interesting. I feel like there's nothing to really digest into this one because I think it's iconic for them to take something that's such a what's the word? Archaic? That sounds wrong. No, that's not right. I think it's very feels very much like a Namjoon thing for them to preserve this piece of history and preserve it forever in the form of a song that's not really a song. It's just them ringing a bell or the bell. I think I've been trying to find, and I can't because there's no other than me maybe taking my phone and putting it up against to see what it lands on as far as the hertz, see if it lines up with any, because I used to be into sound baths or those singing bowls when I was in my 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And there are certain sounds and certain wavelengths that trigger certain responses in your chakras basically, and where they sit. And I was curious to see if there was any connection with that, but I have not been able to find anything on that. So Namjoon, if you're listening, I'd like to know if you know what the hertz is for the sound so I can know if it's. But I think it's ironic, too, that a lot of people were waiting for there to be something, and it just ended up going into swim. So it was almost like we were forced into some type of meditation in a way, as a halfway point. But I think that's, again, I think for them to include this, I think it also is kind of this nod their longevity as well, in a way. I know it sounds like you're getting all this from a bell. Yeah, because this is a piece of history that, again, is now preserved forever in the form of their album. And this album, I would say, is now in line with again, a piece of their culture. Not only with Idol and the meaning behind all that, but just all the other. And again, going back to the conversation of them not being Korean enough and yet incorporating all of these things that are very much significant to their culture. It's just
right.
Again, you want the Korean in them to be packaged a certain way. You want it to look like a minstrel show. And that's, again, we talked about that earlier, but so I'm not going to dive back into that. But I think, again, when you talked a little bit about the other podcast that won't be named because no free promo here, about what modern Korean looks like and versus the older Korea. I think in my mind, I feel like there's probably more of a blend than there is anything else. I mean, obviously society grows as in every country. As society grows, things change, and trends and just our ways of life will change and adapt. So I think that there's all, when I look at like anybody talk about South Korea or anybody that's visited South Korea, and just this constant reminder of their history, there's a constant like ode and a nod to like things that are very culturally significant, whether it's the food or the dress or just the education of certain things that they talk about or they teach over there. I think Korea is very rich in their culture for the most part. So it makes sense in my mind for 7 Korean men who are very much proud to be Korean to have a piece of history kind of forever encapsulated in their project. It's kind of genius if you ask me. I know, like, it's just a bell, sure. But it's probably a lot deeper than that, I think, for those of us who, look at these things in a deeper level,
I mean, I could see it, so.
Yeah.
But yes. Guess you had a lot more to say about the bell than you thought.
I guess I did, huh?